What's up, good people? How are you doing? You're back again with your boys, Doc and Joe. Game Week 32 preview. Let's get into it after a brief introduction. Doc, what is going on with you?
All good. I'm still in the top 10K, so I'm extremely happy to stay here. I've been in the top 20K since game week 7, and I've been in and out the top 10K. So I hope I finish on the high and stay in the top 10K. I have my chips. I hope I don't shoot myself in the foot because, when you have chips, you just want to take riskier moves. I will take riskier moves because I enjoy playing the game a bit better like that, especially at the back end of the season. So I hope everybody's going to do well. Our viewers, I hope you enjoy our episode, and let's get into this.
Yeah, Doc, I don't know what it's like to have a lot of chips and play risky because I just play risky the whole season through. If I like a move, I'm gonna make it. It doesn't matter the cost. Alright, so the first thing that I think we want to discuss getting into game week 32 is sell Salah or sell some of the Liverpool boys or something. What's your thought about that?
Well, I have a clear-cut answer. Usually the answers are team dependable. Well, I have a clear-cut because I have Salah and I considered selling him, and I was debating this for like 3-4 days, for the past 3-4 days. I have a clear-cut answer, which is if you are gonna wild card in game week 34 and free hit in game week 33, like majority of the people on Twitter that I'm seeing, and some of my friends, whether they are in the top 10K or outside the top 10K, if you are having those chips and you have this plan, and there is a caveat also. If you do not have a lot of money tied in Salah, I would sell him. My issue is I wanted to sell Salah and bring Bruno and bring someone like that into my team because they have it. A game versus Everton, who are absolutely terrible. I feel extremely. I tweeted about this last night. I feel terrible that there is a high chance Everton get relegated, but they cannot defend to save their lives. So having a United asset will be nice. However, I will not sell Salah because I have like zero point 0.9 tied into him. So if I sell him, I lose zero point 0.5. I'm saying this. I always say points trump value, right? But because I'm wildcarding in 34, I would want to have as much money as possible because we're targeting the big teams in the wild card. We want the cities, we want the Tottenham, we want the United, maybe the United assets, the Arsenal assets. We want the Man City, if I mentioned it earlier, the KDBs. So we're going to spend a lot of money on our team, especially we're going to bench boost in 36, the people who have bench boost for 36. So you need a lot of money also kind of relatively on the bench. You can't have 3.8 fodders who are not going to play because you're bench boosting. So I have a lot of money tied in into Salah. So I will not, and I would not sell him if I had a lot of money in Salah, and I would not sell him if I didn't have any chips. I would only sell him if I had chips and if I don't have money tied into him. What do you think about that, Joe?
Yeah, I'm sitting right in the same mindset as you. I don't have a wild card myself. I just have a single free hit in my bench boost. And typically by this time in the season, my bench boost would have been gone. I probably would have used it, I don't know, like game week 4 just to get something more than 6 points or 8 points out of my bench and be like, great, awesome, I got a couple points. I I hate the bench boost because we're doing what we do, or what you typically do is you like plan around it forever, and that's what we're doing right now. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm planning on using it in 36 or possibly 37, because 37 came out with some nice fixtures too that I don't think we necessarily expected. And now I have to hold on to my bench boost, and I have to hold on to some mildly decently valued players throughout basically the whole season to get ready in 36 to use that bench boost, especially because I don't have a wild card. I think selling Salah is great in the stipulations and the terms that you laid out if you don't have a ton of money invested in him, which I think probably about a quarter of the community or so does, because when Salah went to AFCON they didn't sell him. I believe you were one of the guys that didn't do that. You lost a little bit of value, but then when he came back he boosted right back up again. So keeping him through that, if you don't have a lot of value invested in him and you have a wild card ready to go in 34, I think it's a great idea. I think that's probably the best way to go. I'm sitting here without a wild card, kind of trying to figure out how to navigate to get in some Man City assets because I don't necessarily want to pile up on Man City, and I have 3 Liverpool right now, but if I didn't have 3 Liverpool, I wouldn't want to pile up on Liverpool assets this game week because they're playing each other. They're the two studs of the league. You know it's not going to be like a 5, 6, 7 goal scoring game. It's going to be a tight game, but there's going to be a lot of probably fun in the game that we can really appreciate. It's going to feel like a championship game. So I don't want to bring in those guys this week. I'm free hitting next week. The week after that, maybe I'll bring them in if like Cancelo isn't 9.5 by the time I bring them in. So I completely agree with what you're talking about there, and we kind of talked a little bit about our chip strategies that we're planning on using just within this conversation. Is there any other chip strategies that you think we should mention along with this conversation here?
Right. Before going into the alternative chip strategies, I wanted to kind of disagree with one thing here, Joe. I don't think the match between Man City and Liverpool will be a tight game. Historically, between Pep Guardiola and Klopp, they tend to try to defend in the first 15 minutes, and the moment a goal goes in, all gates open, wide open, and you can see it in historical matches and previous matches. So they might try to defend, but they kind of, it's in their DNA. It kind of is in their blood to attack the moment there is a goal. The game will open. So I can see it ending like 2-2, 3-2 for someone. So there is a quite big possibility that it might finish in a high-scoring game rather than a 0-0. I think it's unlikely. It's possible, but I do think it's unlikely because it's just the way those two teams play. I don't think they will play for the draw. They might, for the first 10-15 minutes, one mistake, you have a goal. That's it. The other team will try to attack. It's in their DNA, and then the other team will capitalize on that, and then you can see absolutely open game. On the other hand, when I wanted to mention about the chip strategy, there is almost a unanimous decision in the FPL community and in the Twitterverse that a free hit in 33, a wild card in 34, 35, and then a bench boost in 36 is the viable option. I will do that personally. That's my plan because this is how my team is set up. However, I've seen the argument, and I kind of agree with it, that the argument is saying if you have a decent team set up for 33, and you can bench boost that team in 33, I would do it because you mentioned this earlier when you were talking about the chip strategies that you have to hold your players, especially the bench players, over 3 to 4 game weeks, and when you hold those, this value gets stuck on the bench rather than investing it in the top 11, in the first 11. So there is an argument to be made that if you have your bench boost and your team is well set up for 33, you just use it in 33 and then free hit 36, 37, because you don't want to hold this bench from 34, 35, 36, 37 just because you want a bench boost in 36. There is a value to be, especially if you can get a United asset, couple of United assets in 33. I think this is where really the differences come in play. If you have a Leicester asset in 33 as well. So I think there is an alternative strategy. It's kind of team dependent, but it's not heavily team dependent. If you have the players that can score you points in 33, 15 players, you just bench boost and just build towards the double game week in 36, 37.
Yeah, I think those are great alternative strategies to use your chips in, and I do agree. I think that Liverpool and Man City historically could have 4 more goals. Who knows? Who knows? I like to live in the mindset of it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be fun to watch, which, I mean, hey, if they score 6 goals and they split them 3-3, still be a fun game to watch. But I love playing devil's advocate in the community and in our podcast here. So I don't disagree, but I like to live in a different universe than reality.
Yeah, but like, let's say if you repeat the game 100 times, I would expect it to be a high-scoring game. It might be one of those times that it will be a low-scoring game. Here is me advocating for selling Salah and then saying the match will end 2-2. But again, you just play the odds. Salah is less likely. He's literally playing the toughest fixture in the league he can possibly play. He's relatively out of form. He hasn't scored an open goal for a while, but he is on penalties. You cannot discard this. So he's kind of out of form. He's facing one of the best defenses in the league away. So it's a difficult game, definitely. So you want to capitalize on the odds. And Manchester United, for example, are playing. You can punt. You can really punt by selling Salah also, because you can bring any player you want for that price. So, or you can kind of spread the funds. I don't recommend usually taking a hit before chips, because if you're gonna free hit 33 and if you're gonna wildcard 34, a hit will need to pay itself literally this game week, and I wouldn't take hits unless I'm quite sure that I will get this money or this return back.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of those games where you could see the no-name goal scorers come shine through also. It just feels like one of those games where everybody loads up on all the big assets and none of them score. So you'd have people like Henderson, Fabinho, Foden, Diaz, like all the no-names.
Yeah, not the highly owned FPL players. It usually goes that way. That's FPL for you.
Yeah.
Which takes me, because when we were talking about punts, I'm looking into, if you're wildcarding in 34 and free hitting in 33, it's a good chance to take a punt. I'm looking into punts. Depending on your budget, I'm actually looking into punts. Because, for example, you have Leeds versus Watford, and there is a potential for goals there. You have Burnley versus Norwich, and there is potential because both teams seems cannot defend anymore, especially Burnley. So you have a couple of games that you can kind of target punts. You have West Ham versus Brentford, and let's see how they play in the Europa League. And if Bowen is fine, you can have Bowen as an option there. So we have quite few punts you can target if you are gonna use your chips, because this is the player you're gonna get only this game week, and then you're not gonna get that player back on your wildcard and free hit. So I can see, well, you can get Bruno, for example, if you're selling Salah. I think that's a very good option. I think Cristiano Ronaldo, if he's fit, that's a great option. But there are some cheapos you can target, because I don't have much money in the bank looking at my team. So I'm gonna look at cheapos. I can totally see myself going like all of a sudden Joao Pedro or something, someone low owned less than 1%, and targeting a specific fixture. So I might look at Dallo to bring him in, because like I said, I don't have much money, and I can use that to kind of punt on low owned, low priced players. Do you have any punts in mind, Joe?
None that I'm personally looking at right now to bring in. I know that I've seen within the community people like Mateta on Crystal Palace, him possibly being an interesting idea. I know he's a little bit more owned, but Olise, he would be an interesting guy. He just didn't play the last game, so he's going to be ready to go this upcoming game. You can also pick up any Leeds assets besides Rafinha, because Rafinha doesn't really do much, but he looks nice to play. So another set of players that I have seen being thrown around on Twitter is also some Wolves guys. So Matinho, Neves, those guys. They are getting some ground swell in the community for a little bit of backing as far as punts. Who am I to tell you no, don't do it? It's a punt. You're bringing them in because of a couple decent stats and a little bit of good feels. So if it feels right, go ahead, do it. These are just the ones that I've seen have a little bit of backing and could very well pay off too, especially with their fixtures.
It's one of those game weeks that I wouldn't say no to a punt, especially again, like if you're free hitting 33 and wildcarding 34, any punt you would present me, I'd probably say just go for it, because captaincy, if it's not captaincy related, if you're not going to captain the player you're selling or captain the player you're buying, I think any punt will be fine for one game week. You can gain ground and you will not lose a lot of ground if that punt doesn't work out. So it's prime week to punt.
So you mentioned it in your last statement. Let's finish up with captaincies. Who are you looking at for captains, and who are some good options out there?
Well, I have Kane and Son in my team, and I'm going to captain one of them. Probably Kane, because he's usually on the penalties. He's always on the penalties. He can take one shot here, one shot there, and scores a goal. I usually like to give the captaincy to a penalty taker because you never know what can happen in a match. So I'm leaning Kane. I would say 80-20 Kane Son. I'm targeting that Aston Villa fixture just because I don't have really any other option that really tempts me. I'm not selling Salah because I have money tied in, so there is no Manchester United asset in my team that are playing the terrible Everton. Yes, Arsenal are playing Brighton, but I would be reluctant to captain Saka nowadays. So I don't see many other options. Again, it's a good chance to punt this game week. Usually, when the big teams play each other, it's a good chance to punt on a lower, let's say, team captaincy. But I don't really see other options than, and most people will captain Kane and then probably followed by Son. Although his ownership is not that high, I think last game week it was 38% in the top 10K effective ownership. So he's still a differential. So if you want to double that differential, you can captain Son. But I'm leaning Kane also kind of to, well, I think he's going to sort of outscore Son. So I think Kane will be my captain.
Yeah, I'm sitting right there with you on the Sun Kane captaincy. I might actually be leaning a little bit more Sun. Kane has been returning more consistently, but Sun, the last 2 or 3 game weeks, has been outscoring Kane. Little bit of midfielder bonus points in there, and Son is just in general a bonus point magnet. He can not score a single goal, he can not assist a single goal, and somehow Kane will get a hat trick and Son will get 3 bonus. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, because Son is also on free kicks and he takes a lot of crosses, so he crosses the ball quite often and usually helps with the BPS.
Yeah, yeah, and I would also say I've seen a lot of people talk about Salah as a captain pick. Personally, I don't think that he's the best captain pick. I think he could be one, but I don't think he's the best one this game week. You had mentioned that you don't have United players. I think United players are probably as risky as captaining Salah because it's United this season. Normally, I would say, yeah, have at it. Why wouldn't you captain Ronaldo? Why wouldn't you captain Bruno? United's still trying to find their place. And if you wanted kind of a punt captain for this week, bring in Sancho. He tends to perform more times than not recently, and he's also a crucial part of that United attack. So I think he wouldn't be a bad punt captain. Am I going to do it? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not that risky. But I think it's something you could definitely consider out there. And those are kind of the big captain picks that I'm looking at myself.
Um, I really like the Sancho captaincy punt. I really like this. Also, this brings me back to our previous. So who would you punt? I would look at Elanga as well. So if you don't have the money for a midfielder, a lot of money, and if we see indication that Elanga might start, I would bring Elanga as well because he can be an option. But I really like the Sancho Lang and the Sancho punt. And looking at your team and looking at your rank, I think it's the time to take some risks. This can be a good week for risk. I'm putting the seed in your brain. Let's see how it works. So I know you. You might be tempted. You might sleep tonight, wake up tomorrow, like, oh, Sancho captaincy. So I think if you're targeting, for example, the top 200K by the end of the season, I think it's quite possible for you. You have the chips. Many people don't have the chips. You're really on top of your game. You're in form. So I think a Sancho captaincy is not a terrible idea for you. So I would really give it a consideration for you. Yes, it's riskier, but again, the upside is quite high because you never know. Because Tottenham are playing away, right? And there is a slight chance, although I don't see it, but there is a slight chance that Aston Villa frustrates them at home. So you never know, and then you can capitalize on the Everton form, on the lack of confidence in the team. We can see Richarlison kind of DM'd someone like, come to Goodison Park and support us. So there is this feeling of fear. So maybe Manchester United can capitalize on it. We hear that the new manager, the Ajax manager, might join soon. So it might motivate the players to kind of show their value, show their worth for the new manager to see, so he can start them and this kind of stuff. So there is a dynamic I can see happening that captaining a United player, especially Sancho and Bruno, who are low owned, can gain you big grounds. So I would seriously consider it.
For sure. And if you want to be absolutely insane, Kulusevski, just throw the captain ban on him. He's still doing great, and he's not not getting as much credit as the points he's getting in FPL.
Yeah, because
Uh,
he's overshadowed by Kane and Son, especially Son. So
oh yeah. Oh yeah, I
yeah,
completely agree. And I think Sancho has the same issue at United with Bruno
yep.
and Ronaldo. Everybody wants the big names. Nobody's looking at the little guy that's sweating and putting in all the work to get those guys points.
Yeah, that's why I enjoy your work. That's why I
Yeah.
like talking to you because you always come up with this third player who can outscore the first two from each team. So when I said Ronaldo and Bruno, you said Sancho. That's why I like talking to you because you see the risks and you see the kind of the high return, and it kind of we complete each other when it comes to this. Like I'm a, let's say, middle manager. I don't like taking too many risks, but I also don't like playing extremely safe. It gets quite boring, and all of a sudden I take a -8 and bring risky players. But also you are more of a risk taker, so that's why I enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, yeah. You balance me out. You stop me from -16s every week. So
And that.
so thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter, interact with us in the community. We're always looking for any sort of interaction. We're just like all of you managers. All we want to do is just talk FPL, and that's it. Even when the season's done, just talk FPL with us. We can theorize, is Trent Alexander-Arnold going to come in as a 9 million defender, and will Salah come in as a 14 million midfielder? Because you know that's going to be the talk in the off season. We know that. So thank you once again. And Doc, is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
I would like to echo with everything that Joe said, and I also wanted to mention that during the summer, after the season finishes, we have a lot of things planned, which will be interesting for the people regarding FPL during the summer. So I hope you press that subscribe button. Stay tuned, drop a like if you enjoy the content, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Peace.